I just can't. Oh, how you doing today? You doing good? Because if you having a bad day, that's about to turn around right now. Today we are reacting to this Ace Bailey scandal just got 10 times worse. Let's do it.
The Ace Bailey scandal was the biggest story of the draft outside of the Mavs Landon Cooper flag. This kid, who was supposed to be a nice, humble guy, pulling the most arrogant diva.
Now. What we're not going to do is blame him fully for his actions, okay? We know he's a young man, but the agent that he chose literally preyed on him and put him in this situation, okay? Let's start there.
Diva stuff before draft night, but it turns out behind the scenes, it wasn't Ace Bailey. It was his manager Omar Cooper pulling the strings, costing
What did I tell y'all? Exactly.
Ace millions of dollars potentially and his reputation, but it turns out Ace Bailey just fired Omar Cooper, and it could be linked to a wild conspiracy that makes the entire scandal 10 times more dark and twisted.
Kudos to him.
So Ace met Omar when he moved from Tennessee to Georgia to play high school basketball at McEachern.
Right.
Now, McEachern is not some normal high school. It is a national powerhouse, ranked #1 in the country in 2019 when Sharif Cooper went there, Omar's son. So Omar basically becomes a gatekeeper in that Georgia to NBA pipeline.
Now, I ain't gonna lie. This team was very tough. Like, if y'all need to go watch them highlights.
But unfortunately for Sharif, something terrible happened after high school. But my favorite way to stay fit is to 90 Price. Guys have reached out, said that you love him, so I nage around, but ever try. He goes to Auburn as a 5-star recruit, but can't play the first 12 games because the NCAA is investigating him for improper benefits and contact with an agent. But he is cleared and plays the final 12 games at Auburn, scoring 20 points on 23% from deep. Not great, so every expert tells him to return to school, boost that draft stock, but no. Sharif enters the draft, drops all the way down to the second round. Plays.
Now, I'm gonna be honest. No hate to Sharif Cooper because he is a bucket. But to Ace Bailey, my nigga, if you seen this, you should have never even talked to Sharif Cooper's father. Hell no. Making him your manager at that? You crazy as hell.
Handful of games for Atlanta before getting shipped overseas to China. So from 5 stars to the Far East with his dad Omar calling the shots. But despite that, Ace...
Bro, just look at him, bro. Just look at him. He wants that bread. He don't care about Ace Bailey whatsoever.
Still trust this guy to be his manager. But what is a manager? A lot of people call Omar his agent, but that's not true. A manager is somebody who a player trusts to have his best interest, guides the player's life decisions, school, endorsements, media, who to trust. Think Uncle Dennis for Kawhi, but they're not all bad. NBA teams estimate some 30 to 40% of lottery picks have a manager. But what happens next puts Omar right up there with Uncle Dennis. Maybe even worse, because at least Kawhi's reputation might be broke, but not his bank account. Omar might have cost Ace millions. So mock drafts had Ace as high as #3 to Philly. But 1 week before the draft, reports said, hey, he hadn't conducted a single workout with an NBA team. Then the team at 3, Philly, gets a call saying he is canceling his workout and is meeting with them last minute.
Now listen, me being a former college basketball player, you know, I used to play college if y'all didn't know that. This has to be the most dumbest shit that somebody could choose for a player to do as a manager. Like, missing a workout, like, that's stupid as fuck.
What? People were ripping Ace, calling him an entitled player who could poison your franchise, but Omar said, 18 teams interviewed him. They all saw him work out at the NBA Draft Combine. He is not the first player to decline or cancel workouts, which is true. 1 year before, Alex Sarr refused to meet with the Hawks because he didn't want to go there. So what's the big deal? Well, it is really uncommon for a player to not work out for any team and for his handler to pretty much demand which team he's gonna play for.
How can you demand what team somebody is gonna play for when they haven't even made it to the league yet? They haven't shown he didn't win no national title in the March Madness tournament at all. So what type of leverage do you, yes, Ace Bailey is a great player, but to try to make that demand is crazy.
And what team was that? Well, Mark Stein just confirmed. Washington was the lottery team. According to various rivals, that was the preferred landing spot for Ace Bailey. The Wizards? Look, no offense, but it's not like the Wizards are some developmental powerhouse like OKC or the Spurs. The Wizards are like an aimless franchise with no success since the 1970s. But Philly? To have a 6'8 forward like Ace pair with an all-star young point guard like Tyrese Maxey could be perfect. So why push hard for DC? That's when the whole thing started to smell off and where this conspiracy theory really kicks into gear.
Ace, I'm gonna keep it a buck with you. You really chose to go to Washington over Philly? My nigga, if I was you, I would have fired him on the spot. You had an opportunity to get a ring. Now you're in Utah, my nigga.
But imagine being a GM on that draft night. You got a top 5 pick ready to invest millions in this kid, and suddenly his camp calls you saying, don't draft us. We won't even show up if you do. You don't pull that unless you think you're LeBron James. But guess what? The Jazz drafted him anyway. They took Ace at 5 because Danny Ainge said, I'm not going to be bullied by this handler, Omar Cooper.
And I'm glad that the owner knew it wasn't Ace Bailey. I think everybody knew it wasn't Ace Bailey. It was really Omar. It was.
I'm Danny Ainge, and after a little concern that Ace might not report, he did show up, and turns out he was nothing but professional. In fact, the local paper in Utah said from every possible source, Bailey is a humble, hardworking hoop junkie with a heart of gold who is eager to start his professional career and continue learning. So how did this happen? That's when people found out about Omar Cooper. He posted this.
Look at him, bro. Look at him. Look at him. He's a scammer. Just look, what manager wears chains and watches? Now, I'm not saying that you can't do that, but come on, bro. You have to be professional if this is your job. This isn't his only job. He do shit on the side, and we all know that.
Weird video of himself online just looking into his camera. Kind of a red flag for a dude in his 40s. And if Ace had dropped to 8, that would have cost Ace upwards of $10 million. Luckily, the Jazz took him, dropped from potentially 3 to 5, which would have been about $2 million. But the real cost was his reputation, because now the first thing people think when they hear Ace Bailey is this terrible, toxic situation. But shockingly, Ace did not fire Omar. It took something else just before this season to finally kill that relationship. On September 19th, the Wizards announced they are signing Sharife Cooper to a 2-way NBA contract.
I think I figured it out. He wanted Ace to go to the Wizards so he can have some type of leeway of showing them that he has power just to get Sharife Cooper back into the subject. Boom. That's crazy. That's scandalous, bro.
A shock to people who follow 2-ways, because Sharife was bouncing around Europe the last few years on teams not even good enough to be in EuroLeague. Hadn't played in the NBA since 2022, so it's weird. Then on September 24th, 5 days later, Ace finally parts ways with Omar Cooper and is looking for someone else to represent him. Is it possible that Ace thinks Omar used him to get his son back in the league?
Yes.
We have no idea, but the timing is very suspicious.
And I do think that. And I think for Ace Bailey now, he needs to go get LeBron's agent. For sure, because I think that's probably the best agent that you can get. He's going to clear your reputation, and you're going to be back in some talks for even more big bread that you missed out on.
It looks like Omar might have promised to try to funnel Ace to the Wizards without them having to trade up. See, teams who really want a top prospect often have to sacrifice assets to move up in the draft.
Right.
But if Omar could get Ailey to tank down, they could get him free and clear. Maybe in return, they promised to give his son a second chance at the league. Now, I'm not saying that that's what happened. That's the conspiracy. But it looks like Ace might believe that, based on the timing alone. Now, the more innocent explanation is that Omar created relationships during this whole thing with the Wizards and used that for a chance to get his son an organic opportunity. Maybe. But the timing of this firing is what really makes you wonder. It makes you think that Ace might believe more in the conspiracy than the innocent explanation. I mean, Ace kept working with Omar through criticism, millions lost, draft chaos, That wasn't enough to fire him, but Sharif signs with the Wizards, and then Ace cuts ties with Omar 5 days later.
And I definitely think it is messed up to use another kid's legacy to take care of your own. I mean, there's nothing wrong. I mean, no, there is absolutely something wrong with it. You don't mess up somebody else's reputation for your kid. Simple. Your kid keeps working until he can get his opportunity.
You can't ignore that timing. So we'll see if Ace is as good of a kid as reports say and a player. Then it's great that he's moving on. And it really sucks when a young person and their family gets taken advantage of like this. Allegedly. Should be a warning to other kids and their families. I mean, we talk so much about draft bust, but sometimes it's not even the player's talent. It's the people steering the ship. Ace Bailey's story might end up being about way more than basketball. It's about how easy it is for young stars to lose control before they've even played a game in the NBA. By the way, big shout to Cheese Guy.
Man, that's the end of the video. I want to let y'all know something though. Don't let nobody take advantage of y'all kids. See you guys in the next one, man. Peace.